Hello and welcome to episode #3 of the Chit Chat Podcast. We are back. Firstly, I would just like to say I took time out to learn, grow and educate myself on the world we live in today. And here at the Chit Chat Podcast, we stand by all Black Lives Matter campaigns, no matter what. We are all equal as human beings, and no one should ever have to fight to feel safe and be recognised as equal based on the colour of their skin. I will continue to learn and, more importantly, listen and recognise what I can do to help. There is one race, and is the human race, and I will continue to fight until that is the case. Black Lives Matter, and I will leave a link below to petitions you can sign to help. Now, today I am joined by a fellow Irishman who is taking the musical theatre industry by storm. It is the incredibly talented Mr. Brian Ó Muirí, everyone. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Whoop whoop, thanks for having me.
How are you and how's your lockdown been for you?
Do you know what? I'm good. And lockdown's actually been okay because I'm actually recovering from a nasty injury. So
yes,
it's been good in that sense. I'm kind of haunted with the timing of that.
And I am loving your duets you are doing at the moment. I could listen to your voice all day. Where did the idea come about for it, and where can people go and listen and watch them?
Well, basically, the idea kind of came about with people. Obviously, theatre is closed at the moment, and we wanted to keep entertaining people and also keeping a connection with my friends who I've met along my own journey. So I was like, you know what? Let's set up for YouTube. I have a new fancy blue Yeti mic from Amazon. I'm not sponsored, but if they do want to sponsor me, here I am. And I said, you know what? Like, might as well do it. And also, I'm quite computer not tech savvy at all, so I was like, you know what, it'll be a learning curve on that front, and hopefully it'll entertain some people. So that's kind of where that kind of came about, and then people wanted to sing with me, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're fantastic. I'm absolutely loving them. But you're from Cork in Ireland, and growing up in the countryside, being a boy that wanted to dance, sing and act, was that difficult for you to do and to be accepted? I know I asked because personally for myself, it wasn't easy because in the countryside, you know, GAA and hurling is something that is always pushed as opposed to dance and performing arts. When did you realise that performing arts was something that you wanted to do?
So I think what really did start me off into performing was going to see the Panto every year at my national school here in Cork. I just loved going to see it, and I always would want to go again. And mum would be like, all right, I'll bring you, because I come from a very sporty family. My dad was heavily involved with the GAA, and my brother and my mom were both professional basketball players. They both played for Ireland.
Wow.
So I'm there going, I want to dance. So in a sense, it's good because I feel like it came from myself. So I kind of pushed myself into doing it. So my mom started me when I was 10 in one of those singing, dancing, acting, all-in-one classes, which I loved. And then I started tap, which mum was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, it's like Irish dancing, but no. So did that. And kind of just from there, that's where I kind of got my own spark for it. I was shoved on the GAA pitch as well, playing the hurling and the football, but sure, I was only twirling the hurley like the baton. There's actually an iconic story where I scored the winning goal of a football match up in Escarrow, the club that I used to play for. But the only reason I scored it was because the ball hit off me and then went into the goal. So it actually wasn't me, but I will take all credit for that.
That was like me. I still wanted to play football and stuff, but I was part-time, you know. I wouldn't want to go to training or anything because I had stage school rehearsals, but then I'd show up on a Sunday going, why aren't I being played? I just want to play.
Why am I on the bench?
Why am I warm at the bench, you know? But it's mad that you said Panto just there. Panto is such a big part of Ireland. And growing up, even for me, I know, I'm a Panto kid, but growing up, Panto is just that one occasion at Christmas that, for people like us, it's just something that we can watch, and it's big in Ireland. It's almost like the West End of Ireland, is what I kind of call it.
Yeah, get the Panto life. I did Panto for 10 years, which I really loved, in the same place, in the Everyman in Cork, in the city. So I just absolutely loved it. And the friends that I have from that, we do a Zoom quiz every week. This is now good. I haven't done it since I was 18. I'm 24 now. So what's that? 6 years? I don't know. I'm not good at maths.
You don't mind.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But only 5, 6, 7, 8 maths. But the friendships that I made from that, are something that I will always continue with. And every Christmas just having that absolute release of performing and going like full out and having your family come watch, and it's just so exciting, you know. I love it.
Absolutely. And now making the move to performing arts college from anywhere is a daunting experience, but in this case Cork, how was your experience auditioning for colleges, and did you audition for many, and how did you know which college was right for you?
So before I thought even about auditioning for colleges, I had an amazing singing teacher in Cork called Orla Pallasacchio, who is still to this day like my biggest supporter. Love her. She's iconic.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, my all-time favorite musical was a show called 13, the musical, which is written by Jason Robert Brown.
Yeah.
And there was a I always used to look up on Google, on my dial-up connection back in the day. I used to be like 13 the musical West End, 13 the musical UK, like anything. And there was never anything. And all of a sudden, there was a West End week. They were doing 13 in the Apollo, which is currently where everybody's talking about Jamie is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, my favorite musical of all time is coming to London. I need to go immediately. Yeah. So I like organized this trip. Like my two cousins and my best friend came, and we all went to London and watched 13 with my singing teacher Orla Pallasacchio.
Yeah.
So we went, and I basically just loved the show, loved everyone in it. They were all around my age, 15, 16.
Yeah.
So I said to them, I goes, like, who are you? Like, where are you all from? Like, what's the story?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're from a company called NYMT, which is the National Youth Music Theatre, who I, at that moment, didn't realize how big it was. But then after coming home and Googling and stuff, I was like, wow, this is the real deal. And they said, I became friends with some of them then. They said, you should audition for next year's show. We're doing West Side Story. And I was like, oh my God, wow. Yeah, absolutely. So I went to my audition. I remember to this day, it was the creative team were Tom Deering was the MD.
Okay.
Nikolai Foster was the director, and Drew McConey was the choreographer.
Wow.
Which are obviously all huge names.
Yeah.
So I went like little Irish bumpkin, like
country bumpkin.
And I remember them saying like, oh, like what kind of part would you like to go for or whatever. Before I'd audition, I said, well, to be honest, I'd love to pull the curtain. I'd do anything. And they were literally like, what? So then I actually got into West Side Story. I got to play Big Deal, which is one of the Jets boys.
Yeah.
And like we were all around 16, 17, but all those people now are like in the West End and on tours and everything. Like they're all really close friends still. So that was like the biggest thing that like said, you know what, that was a switch. I need to do this. I caught the bug then. And I remember, this is like a really long-winded answer to get to the question.
Go on, all right.
I remember Drew McConey.
There you are, you're back. You're back. It's all right. Look,
was that me or you?
It was your one. It went off.
Really? Oh no.
But look, it's grand.
It's all right.
No, it's grand. It's a good thing that's pre-recorded, isn't it? So we can edit away.
Yeah.
So you were saying you met Drew McConey.
I'll just pick it up.
Pick it up from wherever you want. Go on, fire away.
So when Drew McConey said to us, he said, well, guys, it doesn't matter where you train. It's how hard you train while you're there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And that's something, he probably doesn't even remember saying it, but it's something that's always stuck with me and like resonated inside my body. So I literally was like, do you know what? I'm going to try and go to a college that is like the best one for me and just what I want to do. So from being in the Jet Boys, and then the next year I got into a show called The Hired Man, which was in the other palace in London, with NYMT as well. And I was in the ensemble there, and I kind of got my first experience, like kind of being a dance captain and that kind of anarchy. And I was like, you know what? I definitely want to go down ensemble route, covering, eventually end up hopefully in a lead role, which I haven't done yet, but stay tuned. But
absolutely.
So then I just said Bird was definitely the college for me because they have such an amazing dance background, which I did have experience in, but I considered myself more of a singer before I went to Bird. Yeah. Wouldn't say that now, maybe, I don't know. Like, obviously, I can still definitely like sing, but like there's so
way you can sing. You know you can sing.
I know, but you always make excuses though, don't you? Like there's amazing singers in London, like sensational singers. So I would like to say like yeah, like I dabble in all. You know,
Yes.
I have
You are a triple threat. You are a
specialist
triple
skills.
threat. That's exactly what you are.
Nah,
You are.
I dabble in all. I won't say triple threat.
How did you find your experience at college, and what advice would you give to students, in particular that are training at the moment?
So my experience at college was amazing because I just thought, do you know what? This is the famed school. Like, this is all I've ever wanted. This is center stage. This is what. So like the second I went, like I can still remember my very first day at Bird and just being so excited to meet every single person and get to know everyone. And I was just so excited. I was one of those like really excited. I'm still excited now at everything. But yeah, I just think like,
it's passion.
Like one of the best things that I took from college was, I can't remember what teacher said it now, but they said, don't be tired, be inspired. And I think that was what got me through college was like, because obviously it's such a race and you're just exhausted all the time. And the advice I would give would be to like try and remember something like, don't be tired, be inspired. What is it?
Don't be tired, be inspired. I love that.
That's it.
Don't be tired, be inspired. I love that. That's brilliant.
Another one was Ben Tribe used to say in ballet, which was one of my least favorite subjects because I was useless, was get up, dress up, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. And I just thought, you know what?
That's true. It's actually true.
It's one of those things that like when you kind of feel like there's a discipline you're not like as good at as the others. So like for me, it was definitely ballet and contemporary. I just felt, God, I'm a lanky Larry and I can't. In contemporary, they were like roll on the floor in one count, and I was like, by the time I get to my knees, you're already up on the other side. So I'm exhausted. But you know what? The one advice I would give would be to go to every class because like some people are like, oh, I won't need that. I won't need that. You never know what you're going to need because I was off doing ballet there in the last contract I did, and I was turning and whooping and living my best life, but I wouldn't have had that if I said ballet isn't for me. Or in a different show I did the producers, and one of the numbers was like kind of like a Jewish inspired routine, and we had to do jump, roll to the floor, jump, roll to the floor, literally exactly like contemporary. And I was like, God, I'm so glad I actually went now because this is completely something I wouldn't even have linked the two. And that's what's inspiring about the industry now, because there's so many different like choreographers and stuff who have all these new things to bring, and they're 100%. Incorporating all these styles that wouldn't have been in those shows in the past. So go to every class is my major advice.
100%. And so graduating from college, we move on. What was your experience like from being a student and booking your first job? What was that transition like for you?
That was amazing. I loved it. So my first job was, so basically I actually, long story short, was told that I wasn't suited to it because I'm 6'1". And there was a breakdown for a track went out in a musical called The Casual Fall, which was my first job. And there was a breakdown went out, and I was like, oh my God, like I really want to do this. But it said 5'11" because it was a replacement track, and you needed to fit exactly the costumes and everything. And I was like, oh no, like I was like, but I really want to go. And I remember saying like, I want to go to my agent at the time, and they were like, oh no, you're too tall, like it wouldn't work. And I was about to sign with another agent, so I said to them, oh, I don't know about this job, like maybe I'm too tall or whatever. And they were like, we'll submit you anyway, YOLO, whatever. So I was like, absolutely, YOLO. So then I went to college, and I was like, oh, so I have gotten a casting for this. And they were like, oh, we hope you're not too tall. And I was like, do you know what? I'll just go and see. So I went, and I was probably the only graduate in the room because it started in April. And like everyone else was like people I'd seen on stage before and stuff. And I was like, oh, sweet Lord. And it's a drag queen musical. So we using heels. I'd never put on a heel in my life. I remember putting on the freshers page at college being like, any girl with a size 8 heel, like message me, all the big footed girls, like I need a pair of heels immediately. So I ended up getting one off my very good friend. And then, so I literally like was in my living room being like, okay, I'll just like twiddle about, like do a few turns. I was like, I'll be grand. Went to the audition. It was like full out, like jump into splits, like can routine, like full out. Somehow I booked it.
You booked it?
I know, but like it was. I think that's what was amazing because Bill Deemer, who was the choreographer, it was
Mm-hmm.
a huge inspiration to me because he choreographed Top Hat, which is one of my all-time favorite shows.
Yeah.
Gave me the chance to be in it, and I was like, wow. And we had only a week's rehearsal because I was just a replacement cast.
Yeah.
So I had a week to learn the show, and it was just so
Wow.
intense and so amazing that I remember on the dress rehearsal as well, there's a staircase that moves.
Yeah.
So I opened on the Tuesday night in Dartford, which is just down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the staircase moves forward during one of the scenes. And in the rehearsals, we just stood there like waiting, like nothing was moving because we were just on the floor. But in this dress rehearsal, the day I was opening, it was my first time experiencing the stairs moving. And I remember standing on the stairs like thinking, oh my God, I've nearly got through Act 1. This is amazing, whatever. Next thing the stairs moved and I went, oh, go, like fell down the whole stair, like stumbling like this.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I was like, I'll reset myself there. And I like wedged myself up. And then that night, the whole of my college, the whole of Bird came to watch.
Yeah.
And I just was like clinging for my life
Dear
on that
life.
staircase, like I'm not gonna fall off. So it was an amazing experience, and to do a show where you just completely change from Brian to like Phaedra, which is my character's name, was insane because I was in a full different outfit, like full new face. It was awesome.
Yeah. Now we have to talk about Producers, which you briefly mentioned. And for anyone that doesn't know, it's a musical adapted by Mel Brooks and Thomas Meehan. Your ensemble. Now, I absolutely love the musical personally and the music. What's it like to be number one, be part of such an amazing musical, in my opinion, but to be an ensemble member and part of an international tour?
Woo. So, thanks. The Producers was amazing, and it was actually the first job I booked. I booked it before La Cage, but it was like it auditioned in like March, and I auditioned for La Cage in April, and La Cage finished in August, and Producers started in September. So like it was perfect. It worked out somehow. So when I got the Producers, I was buzzing, and I also got cover Carmen Gia, who is like the Roger Dupree's assistant. Like he's really camp and really flamboyant. So I was like, oh my God, this is insane. I can't believe I'm going to be in the show, and I love the music as well. So being in that musical is insane because there's just so many different characters, and I feel like I'm quite like a zany person anyway. So to have like 1 minute you're a tap dancing Nazi, then you're in a granny outfit on a Zimmer frame, then you're a chimney sweep, and you're living your best, and you're an accountant. Like it's just so much fun, and it's just so full out. And the casts were amazing, and to be away from home like touring was incredible because you become so much closer as a cast, because usually like if you're in like a UK tour or whatever, like everyone has their own digs and their own place to go back to, but this was like you all stay in the same hotel, stunning, unreal, can't believe you're there. Then you all get on a bus together and go to the theater together, do the show together, come home on the bus together. Like be in the hotel together. Like in the gym, go outside, like go to a bar, like everyone. It's so much fun because for those months you're just a unit, and it's just incredible. Like you get to know people so incredibly well, and it's one of those experiences that I literally will have in the top of my mind for the rest of my life. And the show was awesome, and I got to go on for my cover, so it was great.
Amazing. And like you said, it's that wonderful thing about what we do. I discussed it with David O'Reilly on the last podcast. Like with a show, like I've obviously not done professional ones, I've still just graduated from college, but even with any kind of show, you just become a family. You just, like you said, you become a unit, and it's so special because then it carries on outside of that show. Even when people go on to do other stuff, you still are that family. But speaking of like stamina and stuff, Hairspray the UK tour, you played Fender, and again, I'm not just saying I love every musical just because you're on it. I genuinely love the musical Hairspray, and you must have to have incredible stamina to do that show and like lots of energy. What were the challenges you faced doing that musical that is so fast paced?
Hairspray was exhausting, especially as like a nicest kid in town who are just fizzing with energy, like constantly like going. So like that was probably one. I'm going to say everyone's my favorite, but that was probably one of my favorites as well, because it's one of those shows that like you've done since a kid, like as in every show you have in your stage school, you're doing You Can't Stop the Beat or whatever,
100%.
like it's always in the panto, or like it's those songs that you hear constantly. And then the movie came out when we were younger as well.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in the West End and I was like, oh my god, Hairspray. So I remember getting like the offer through for it and just being like, oh, I'm gonna be in Hairspray. And every day when the overture plays, like the overture is quite like fantasy, like da-na-na-na-na. I remember just like standing in the wing every night, like never ever getting over the fact I was like, I'm in Hairspray, like I'm about to sing Good Morning Baltimore. And I think for the Nicest Kids, like it was just so much fun because the opening number is Good Morning Baltimore, and we're all in it, like choreography by Drew McConey again, which is amazing. And I remember I had this like full outfit on, and then after Good Morning Baltimore, we all left, like the Nicest Kids left, like just before the end. And then it's like the quickest change of your life. I have a video of it on my phone. I'll send it to you. It's so funny.
Please.
And we literally just, you tear off, like it was all buttons. I tore off my like a sweater, and I tore off my trousers, and then I was in a pink suit, like ready to go underneath for Nicest Kids in Town, straight in, like exhausted. And then like the whole act one for Nicest Kids is so exhausting because you go do Baltimore Crabs, you do It Takes Two, you do the Madison, you do everything, like the reprise of Nicest Kids, like it's just an absolute race. And my suit used to be bright pink, and by the time it finished it was purple, like it was so wet. And I also remember just before the show, I used to always take a double baraka. I mean, I don't think that's what you're meant to do.
Double baraka, wow.
But I just thought, you know what? You get something in your head like that's what I'm getting to. I was like, double baraka, let's go. Like, and that's the tour as well, where I tried to wean myself off of coffee, because on the producers I got very like just, I'll have a coffee before the show or whatever. So I limited myself to having it just before the last show of the week. So I'd have one between shows on a Saturday. And then you'd go out with a buzz. You wouldn't have that caffeine fix.
You'd be still doing You Can't Stop the Beat afterwards.
And I think the special thing about that was bringing it to Ireland. We came to Dublin, and that was my first time as a professional performing on home soil.
Must have been amazing.
So I just thought, because like my nana and granda who live across the road were able to come up, and it was just so like nice. And like my old dance teacher and my friends and family from school and everything all made the trip up to Dublin. I just thought, this is so special, and it's what a great show, what a great message to bring.
Absolutely. And I feel like I'm listing off your CV, but like you've done so much stuff with that, and you're still only 24 and you've done all this amazing stuff. It's incredible. You were part of The Beautiful Game at the Other Palace Theatre with music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which, Brian, you're no stranger to his musicals, and which deals with like such political topics like the IRA and so on. It's an incredible story. How did you find being part of that story and taking on the role as dance captain?
So I was actually, what's it called? Assistant choreographer. I wasn't dance captain.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually on the creative team for that one, which was amazing.
Okay.
So I wasn't actually in it.
Right.
But I had the best time on that show because it was pretty much like 80% of full Irish cast. Like mostly from the north, a few from the south, but mostly from the north. So I've never even been to Northern Ireland, so I just found it so interesting to, like, before we started like piecing the show together, our director Hannah Chiswick went through like complete like boards full of just like different topics surrounding the IRA and just like loads of information that like we kind of learned at school, but also kind of didn't kind of get into it with the nitty gritty like business that might happen. So I just think what was so amazing about it was that a lot of us were Irish, and it was such an important show based on Irish history that I just 100%. Felt really patriotic doing it. And bringing the show to London was insane because like the audiences were probably learning something that they never knew before, you know?
Now, like you said, being part of the creative team. Now, the way I got the information was from your Instagram, so apologies for my sources. Where was being part of the creative team a new challenge for you? Was it struggling trying to be an assistant and trying to come up with new ideas for the choreographer? Like, what was that process like? Was it completely different from anything you've done before?
So being an assistant is really interesting because like I had done it previously before. So basically, The Beautiful Game was Matt Cole choreography,
Yeah.
and I did the producers for Matt Cole. But the year before, I actually did Spring Awakening at the Curve with Lee Proud, and I
Yeah.
was his assistant on that. So I did assistant on with Lee, and I just found the best thing. The first job I did as assistant was with Lee, and I just thought he was such a good teacher. Like, he really
Yeah.
nurtured me and showed me kind of the ropes, like how to do
Yeah.
it. So I just feel like from Spring Awakening, I learned so much as like when to keep quiet, or like
Yeah.
when to step in, and when to clean, when to let things settle and they'll clean themselves, or when to give certain people notes or pull them aside, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a huge balance, because you're not the choreographer, but you are maintaining their work. So
Yeah, 100%.
it's also like they set something and they expect it to be done. So if there's a break in the schedule, I will grab them and go, guys, we're going to clean that bit now because it was absolutely shocking. And it's kind of playing like devil's advocate, like
Yeah.
keeping the rapport with the cast and being nice and getting the balance between
Yes.
being like nasty as well, like not
Yeah.
nasty, but
Yeah.
stern.
Yes.
So I think the year of The Beautiful Game with Matt Cole, because I'd already worked with him as well, we had such a laugh that like I was already kind of used to it from Lee, and it kind of went hand in hand. So I feel like hopefully now I'll be able to do it for many, many more moons.
And I have no doubt about that. But in regards to Andrew Lloyd Webber, I don't know if you probably are aware of it. He said on BBC4 that the government recommended musicals with no singing. Like,
Yeah.
number one, the English government are not funding the arts and West End performers as it is. Like Marisha Wallace spoke out so well on Good Morning Britain, and I totally agree with her. Performing on West End and tours and so on, it's not a hobby and it's a job. It is a career. We all studied and trained for it like any other profession. It is how we pay our bills, which now people aren't able to do, and are being forced to look into other professions because the idiots in the English government don't respect or care enough what we do. And like during lockdown, when everyone couldn't leave, what did the people rely on? It was the arts, to watch Netflix, watch TV, watch musicals, and like remember that the arts was here for you. And how it is less than any other profession is beyond me. The fact that yesterday pubs can open and cinemas can open, but theatres can open with no live shows. And I seen this on Facebook, and it's so true. Can you imagine the uproar if pubs could open, but they couldn't serve alcohol? Or if hotels could open, but no one could stay in them? But yet theatre cannot put on shows. It's ridiculous. It's just, I can't fathom what's going on in the British government. Like, Ireland's a small enough country as it is, and they're putting 20 million into the arts. Sorry, that was very long-winded, but Brian, being a performer in the industry right now, how does all that make you feel, and what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I feel like obviously it's kind of like one of those things, like they're the people with the answer, but all we can do is try and change their opinion. And I just think we need to keep fighting and keep being outspoken about the arts and promoting them as much as we can. And I think like doing things like my friends Alex Blake and Lindsay Atherton are doing Magnetic Movement, the Magnetic Studios.
Yes.
And something like that, like obviously if the English government aren't going to support the arts, hopefully something like that will contribute a bit. So like I think everyone, until like the government wake up and smell the coffee and realize that in another few months there'll be no more new Netflix series and no more musicals to watch or stream because everything is done, they won't really know. So I think all we can do as performers is keeping outspoken, keep fighting, and also support things that are happening, like live streams of musicals, like paying a bit there. Like Curtains did a show a couple of weeks ago. I think it was £7 to watch. And there's Leave a Light On performances, and there's the Magnetic Studios who are still contributing to the theatre fund. And I think if we all just do our own bit to support and 100%. To keep going and keep spreading positivity and keep entertaining, people will realize that we are a profession. And I think that's what obviously my small little stamp is, the YouTube channel, where I'm hoping that people will, like, because I'm sharing it on a lot of local pages as well, like people that probably never experience thing might stumble across it and go, oh, like 100%. That's something, oh, he does this all the time, oh, that's a profession, oh, that's real. oh, I know him, he's my brother's friend, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's like making more people aware that we're not allowed to do our jobs right now is going to be huge, because like there's strength in numbers, you know. So if we all stick
100%.
together and keep planning, and my friend Harry Francis had a really good point this morning on Facebook. I saw, he said that obviously we can't do live and they say we can't sing, but he said, how about theaters like the National, or who have amazing archives of shows that like they don't release online because people can screen record,
and people go and watch.
Then it's people can go to the theater to watch on a big screen, like a cinema screen, like something like Oklahoma at the National Theatre, which I have ruined my DVD of the copy because like I just love it so much.
It's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite. I love it. Yeah.
If they showed they showed that twice a day, and even if it was like half capacity, but they could still open the theater bar and they could just have the screen and like people could come in and watch, like you would still feel like you're watching a musical. And like obviously there's probably like wiggles and worms about that not happening as well, but I think that's a good suggestion and a step in the right direction. And as long as we can keep something coming in, some sort of revenue to keep our theaters open, I think we'll be fine, and we'll come back triumphant because we'll all be buzzing.
Yeah, and it's mad because I saw Philip Job just put up before we were doing this, and he said, if pubs are allowed open, why don't we go in and use the bars in the theatre? Let's use them as our pubs to help the theatre's support. But anyway, moving on, being a swing, Brian, you are no stranger to the role, and you were a swing and cover Rum Tum Tugger and Skimble Shanks in the international tour of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats the Musical, which is incredible. Cats is a difficult show, I can imagine, to learn on one track, but to be a swing and cover must have been a massive challenge. Like, for anyone that doesn't know what a swing is, what is a swing, and what's the process that you used, or process that you use for Cats in particular? Because being a swing, in my opinion, is a total different ball game, and respect to anyone that's mastered that craft.
Yeah, so a swing is a performer who isn't on stage all the time, but they cover many different tracks, lead roles and ensemble roles, and they go on if anyone has a holiday or they're sick or they have an injury. So they basically can kind of slot in. It's like, I always explain it like to like my mom and stuff when I first got it, because she didn't know what a swing was going. I think, Mom, it's like a soccer match, like the people on the bench that can go into any position on the field, you know? And like, it's not just like, oh, I am a full forward, like that's what I do. You have to be able to be like a midfield, a full back, or whatever the words are. I don't know, you know? So it's one of those things that, like, I thought it was an amazing experience. I found out, I was like, oh, sweet Lord, how am I going to do this? Because then it comes into the fear of, like, my college fears of ballet and contemporary, where I was like, oh no, like, but then I was covering tracks that like were specifically ballet tracks, and my amazing friend Cian Hughes, who's from Dublin.
Yes, I know Cian.
Went to the Cian, big up Cian. He went to the Central School of Ballet in London, and he was playing Carbuckety in My Cats, and we were really good friends. And I used to be like, because I was swinging Carbuckety as well, so I said, oh, Cian, I hope I never go on for you, because he's like ballet extraordinaire, like trained in ballet. And I was like, oh no, like whatever. And then I went on for a 2-week stint, because he was on for Mr. Mistopheles. And I went on for Carbuckety for 2 weeks straight, and I had the best time. Like, absolute ballet track, but do you know what? Like, you have to kind of believe in the training that you've got, and the training that I got at Bird was amazing. And I said to Andrew Wilson, who's the head of ballet, like, as I was on for Carbuckety, I am going on for a ballet track. And I was like, I can't believe it. But it was the experience, like playing. So I covered 7 different tracks in total. Like, to experience everything and just how to do it. Like, I did it. So you become, as a swing, become friends with every single department, best friends with every single department. And that's what I loved most about it, because sometimes you go on a show and you'd never meet the sound people, or you never see some of the wardrobe team or the dressers, because you don't cross them on the show and you don't want to bother people and whatever. But I think the best thing about Cats was that I knew every single person involved with the production. Like, you always were inside in wardrobe getting fittings or making sure that tail was tight enough. And I became really good friends with the wardrobe ladies. And then the sound team, same, because when you're not on stage, we had a swing booth where we had to sing live. So you were constantly with the sound team, chatting away, having your best time. And same with like any of like people that are at the back of the house, like the other sound team, like the front house sound team. You were on stage between shows when they're checking levels, practicing your new tracks and stuff. So you'd always be like, hey. So it was just amazing. And like even the stage management team, who usually just like grab a prop off or whatever, usually you're like, oh my god, please talk me through this technician, or can we run this explosion, or this spotlight, can you put that on me now, because I need to know where my mark is. And so I think that's the best thing about being a swing as well, is that you get friends with everyone in there. And how I did it was I made maps from the stage management team, gave us a map of the stage, like a blank copy, and I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And I made a map of the stage and put in for every single move of any single character. Like I made out a map of everyone, put X's and O's and whatever, and colored them different colors.
Wow.
And I did a lot of stuff by video as well. So at the rehearsals, I would video section. So if there's any traffic or whatever, I'd know to go in front or behind. Or if there was a certain bit of choreography I found tricky, I'd always go through it. Because in Cats as well, we had a huge backstage. So like if you weren't on in the show and the Jellicoe Ball was on, which there's no singing in, I was able to every day like pick a different cat, go, okay, today I'll be Cork Pat, and I would stand backstage while they're on and go through the full Cork Pat track, or the Tugger track, or the Skimbleshanks track. And like you kind of at first it seems like such a huge height, like a huge journey, but do you know what, like it is doable, because you kind of end up, when you're in a show, you know yourself, like you know what everyone else is doing. You're like, in comes Mary on 5, 6, 7, and here comes Padrana, 1, 2, 3. So like it's kind of that. But I think the worst thing is especially Cats, because the first number is Jellicoe Songs for Jellicoe Cats. And there's the dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. And you're literally going, oh, which one am I? Oh my. Like you're literally like, will I just, and then you kinda like have to like side eye the whole stage, like wide span eyes, like where's everyone? And sometimes as well, like I did a show one day where I played the Rum Tum Tugger in the matinee, and I played McCavity in the evening. And I was just like, who am I? Like looking down at the thing, being like, am I in the right cap? Am I on the right count? You kind of get in your head, okay, I'm on 3, but then like that evening you're saying you're on 4, and I'm like, oh, was it 3 or 4 again? Because I literally was 3 earlier, am I 4 now? So it's just like, it's a lot of fun. I think it's definitely a certain type of person can be a swing. You have to be really calm and collected, which I'd like to think I am.
Yes, and you've traveled all over the world with shows, and it's amazing tours. You get to do what you love. Yes, it's work, but at the same time, you get to see amazing parts of the world. Was doing tours something that you always had in mind?
So obviously, like as a kid, like you're like, I'm going to do the West End, and that's it, and I'm going to live there. And I'm going to have a house in Covent Garden, and I'm going to live my best. But I think that's not always the case, and I think you have to just kind of go where the work comes. And
100%.
Like, I think for me as well, like just the auditions that have come up on the shows that I'm lucky enough to have been in have always just been like tours or whatever. And that's just kind of, I go for the audition, I get that. And then the next week there'd be audition for Mary Poppins in town. I'm like, oh, well, I can't go for that now because I've book something. So, but I was saying to Mom just the other day, I was like, I'm so happy now that like I have done loads of touring like in my career, because I think you learn so much from different cultures around the world, and to see different places is like, because that's like at the end of the day, like I obviously want to have a career and I love performing, but I also want to travel and see different places and meet different people and absolutely live my best and go to a different club or a nightclub or like a rooftop bar or whatever. Like that's all part of life too. So I think what touring did for me was really kind of made me like not a wise man of the world, but I learned so much of different cultures and like experiencing different theaters and the like the fans from the different theaters, how they react and how they like whatever, so it's awesome, because I got to, in the day, like especially in Cats, because we went to China, the Philippines, I went to Vietnam, we went to Singapore, like loads of places. It was like in the daytime, when I'm on a UK tour, I'd usually be in in bed, or we'd go for a coffee, and you'd walk around a bit, but like whatever. But then if you're in China, you're like, oh my God, let's go to the Yin Yang Temple. Let's go here. Let's go to the Great Wall of China. Like, let's go like live our best life in the Singapore Islands. Let's go, like, you know, all those kind of things. So I just thought touring for me was amazing, and I just don't know when I'll be able to do that again. So I'm glad that I have experienced that now, and I'd obviously want to do it again, but I would love to be like in the West End soon before my life is over.
Now, obviously, you were part of the video just released of members of Cats from different productions across the world, like the West End tour, Broadway, Royal Caribbean, etc. That brought so much joy to me, personally, seeing it. And like you were going on about, and we were talking about earlier, about being a unit, Cats seems to be like one big family, and you are a family for life, which is one amazing thing about what we do. If you can, what's been your favourite moment, shall we say, during the production of Cats?
I think the best moment in Cats is definitely, well, there's two, I think. The end of Act 1 is like it's the end of the Jellicoe Ball, and like if you've done like a 4-show weekend, like you're already exhausted, and just the last show of the week, like, so you do like Monday, you do Tuesday to Friday singles, and then you do double Saturday, double Sunday. So by the time you get to the Sunday night show, you're just like exhausted, and doing something like the Jellicoe Ball, which you again have grown up watching, and you've seen it, and you've probably done your own production with your budget tail made out of a tea towel or whatever. You know, so like it's one of those, and I think the best energy is because like the music is blaring, so we're all like revved up, and then at the end there's a section of the ball called Warsaw, which is everyone joins together and go da, na, 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 na. You know, so you do like a big ensemble bit, and everyone's kind of been doing their own sections up to then. And I think the best bit of that is just like you just feel like absolute like ecstasy and joy, like you're just living your best, like, oh my God, I'm in Cats, I'm in a tail, I'm sweating, I'm exhausted, but we're nearly there, and this music is iconic, and this move is great, and you're all together as like a tribe, as a family, and you're just like, this is awesome. And you'd be like, everyone kind of like shouts and like grunts and moans and like does their own thing, like together. You know? So it's one of those things that's so like inspiring to be like on stage with. And the second bit of Cats I think is iconic as well, is when you're just like, because when Grisabella sings Memory in Act 2,
we're back. Here we are.
Why do they keep doing that?
Oh, I don't know. It's technology. So
I don't even move.
Your second memory of Cats, she's singing away.
My second memory of Cats, the memory song, is is when Grisabella is singing Memory. And I think it's one of those like moments that you've always heard that song, like we've all heard Elaine Page sing it, and it's just even when you're in a local restaurant, you hear Memory playing and you're going, why are you playing Cats? But it's just one of those songs that has kind of almost made it into mainstream like pop or radio or whatever. It's everywhere. So I remember just like one of my first performances being on, and like turn away from Grisabella, and it's really dramatic and whatever, and then I was pure like peeking like through my finger, like, oh my God, like literally one eye just like, oh my God, I'm in Cats, like and just hearing, like, we had two amazing Grisabellas. We had Lee Tong and we had Joe Ample, who were both iconic legends in their own form. So being on stage with them was amazing, but like just hearing the song and the power and the big belty section at the end, and you're just sitting there going, you kind of just want to be like, but you're also like, oh wait, I'm acting. Okay. So that's another moment where I loved. And also there's a third. Whoops.
Okay, go on.
When Bella flies off at the end and there's all the smoke and she's after rising up on the tire and it's so dramatic, you're all singing, you're belting your tits off, and it's just really great. That's another moment where you're like, wow. Look
at her go. So just before we go and stuff, Starlight Express, with doing a show on roller skates, there's obviously high risk of injury, and you mentioned before you're suffering from an injury at the moment. You go through skate school. What happened? How did the injury come about? And what? I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, it was one of those things that like you never think it's going to happen to you. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's really set me back. Like, luckily lockdowns happened, so I'm not missing out on any, like, well, I'm missing out on a lot, but I'm not missing out on performing and auditioning and stuff. But so basically, to get through skate school, you have a contract that you have 3 months at the beginning, which is your probation. And if you don't pass the probation, you can't do the show. So obviously I haven't passed it because I fell and hurt my leg. So they've offered me to come back another year because I was covering Rusty, who's the lead part, which is like one of my dream roles. So I think as well, like, you go through college, like, literally splitting your head like 10 different ways. Like, I have so many disciplines to learn. And then you're suddenly approached with roller skates. You're like, really? I've just learned all this contemporary and I'm on roller skates. So like, obviously, like, skating really excited me, and like, I had such a good time when I was there. I did 5 weeks there, and then I had to come home. So to learn, like, anyway, just to learn it. And I learned like most of the show in German, like, because when I was injured, I learned a lot, like, of my script, and like I could literally sing the whole show in German now. So that's kind of one of the things I'm like, well, I need to go back because I've learned the German now, better go back. And I know how to skate. Like, I can go now, I can go backwards, I can do a bit of a spin, like, so like, it's one of those things that I know Tony Hawk, PlayStation 2. So I'm like, do you know what, I'm hopefully going to go back at some stage in my career. But it happened because I was going around, there was an exercise called cups, where you just, like, loads of cups lined up and you go around on one leg and you, like, basically, like, curve around. But like, to do it, you have to bend into your Z, which is basically like you bend your legs and you lean. But I was so, bless my Achilles, they're so long, but I bent into my Z and my Achilles, and I was so low and so, like, twisted, like, over, like I was meant to be, that instead of falling out, I fell flat down and just, like, sat on my ankle. So ruptured that, and it's a 4 to 6 month recovery, and I'm at the 4 month mark now, and I'm pretty much recovered. I think I'll be dancing in the next 2 weeks. Can't wait.
You're like the musical theatre Rocky, is what I can imagine is what you're like.
I know. But that's another thing where I said the YouTube channel was fab, because I could use another talent. And I'm also doing a screen acting book that I've, like, started self-teaching myself as a recommendation from the head of acting at Bird, James Pam. He recommended me the other day. So I bought the book, and I'm trying to, like, look into a bit of acting, keep the singing up while I can't dance, because, you know, you have to keep your options 100%. Going.
And then finally, Brian, before I let you go, looking on to the future, is there any musical you dream of being part of, and why?
I dream of being a part of the Book of Mormon. Yes. I dream. It's one of my favorite shows. I love it. It makes me laugh so much, and I just love all the elders' energy. Like, I would love to be a swing in the Book of Mormon, to play loads of people, and to cover Elder McKinley. That's who I would love to cover.
Amazing. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
I wish you every success, and remember to listen to his duets. And this guy is on the rise, and if you haven't heard of him already, you will soon. It's been great to have a chit chat with you, Brian. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe, if you haven't already, to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and all other streaming services, and hit that notification button so you can be notified when each podcast is released. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Chit Chat Podcast, Twitter at the Chit Chat _, and Facebook at the Chit Chat Podcast. We are now on Patreon for exclusive content, so check it out. Guys, I'm Evan O'Hanlon from the Chit Chat Podcast. Thank you so much for listening.